Hey everybody, Adam Savage here in my cave, and yeah, it's a fever dream today. I'm classifying this video in the canon of tinfoil ball. What I've got here is my seat. This right here is a really important piece of design. This is the Emeco Navy chair. I have this vision, and I'm going to implement that vision. I'm going to modify this chair, which is horrifying. It actually. I know this seems, I have a lot of different chairs in my shop. And at one point someone came in and said, why so many different chairs? And I said, well, every chair has a story. And he looked over at this one and he said, well, surely this one doesn't have an interesting story. It's just a chair. And I was like, actually, it's got a great story. By the way, if you're wondering if what you're looking at is a genuine Emeco Navy chair, the real trick is to look here at the top of the back of the three slats, that there are three visible welds here. And that is one of the key ways you can tell apart the Emeco Navy chair. Emeco famously made this chair to satisfy the military's request for a super lightweight, super durable chair. This thing weighs very little. A 77-step process of treating and hardening and welding and assembling these has been going on since 1944 when this chair was first built. Apparently, as the urban legend goes, when Emeco brought this chair to the Navy to show how indestructible it was, they took it to the top of a building, they threw it out the window and collected it downstairs, and it was fine. 99% Invisible did a wonderful episode on the Emeco Navy chair a couple of years ago. We'll include a link in the description. The inimitable Roman Mars and his team told a deep dive of the story of this beautiful piece of design. And I'm about to modify it. It's my chair. I can do what I'd like to it. But at the same time, it's an important piece of design. And I think that somehow I'm going to modify this and make its design better. No, not quite. I do want to say a wonderful quote my late friend Mark Buck said. He used to drive these really lovely Japanese motorcycles. And at one point I said, are you going to repaint the motorcycle? And he said, why would I make any assumption that I'm better at design than a team full of Japanese motorcycle designers? And I was like, fair enough. Well, the same is true here. Well, I am not sure that I'm going to improve this chair by what I'm going to do to it, but I have to implement this. I have to try it out, what I want to do. And I may be right and I may be wrong. Look, this is not a surpassingly rare piece of furniture. Emeco is still making these, and you can pick one up today. But it is not cheap. And so, you know, I spent a while after thinking, like, I really want to drill space-saving holes through this whole thing. I'd like it to be less visible, even lighter, even more, not even quite there, like a piece of NASA equipment. Like NASA drills holes in their stuff to make it lighter. I want to do that with this. But I stared at it for like a couple more weeks after I came to that idea, because I still had to work up the gumption to start drilling holes. Yep. So it's time to start marking up and making some holes. That's all there is to do now. Yep, here we go. This is actually something that's really interesting. I want to show this. Check out that hole. My line is where I want the hole to be. The circle is just a guide, but it is not a placement guide. It is just a visual, like, here's where the next hole is. So this is my template for making sure I am equidistant from either end. And I put this down, and I use this to simply make the first mark. Oh, which is dead on the center. I'm going to make this one slightly off center. Okay, look at this mark here. That is not in the center, but it can be. So this hole here is not on center, but if I put my drill into the trough created by its mark, and I tilt it about 15 degrees off axis in the opposite direction to where I want the drill bit to wander, the split point of this drill bit will wander to where I need it to go. This is not for drilling two holes that are going to receive two things you've already made. This is low precision. However, I think I stopped recording there. So let's put, let's do this, and we'll do a slightly off center hole. Great, okay. This hole here, objectively terrible. I know it looks off center this way and this way, but this is the only way that matters. So what I do is put the drill bit into the trough created by the hole. And you can see that it's off center. And then I tilt the drill bit back away from the direction I want the drill bit to wander, and I start going slowly, and the drill bit will move. See that happening? Now, when I brush away that, you'll see how much more center on that is? That's just me going by eye. Now, neither of those holes was drilled perfectly on center, but I'm really happy with where they are. I reiterate again, this is not a mission critical high precision operation. This is more for visual drilling. But for visual drilling, or where there's only one hole and you just have to make it and you want to get it in, you can drive your drill bit. That's what I wanted to say. You can drive your drill bit. Okay. You might be looking at this and wondering why I'm just drilling these small holes here. It's because I'm still in the planning stages of this exercise. And I know there are I've watched nothing but other YouTube channels building stuff. So I'm aware that there are folks out there who would go find themselves a CAD drawing of the Emeco Navy chair and plot out on it all the hole drilling, which is a completely reasonable course of action. Just not the kind that I like to take. I am a much more, there are questions that need to get answered in the aesthetic pursuit of something that can only be answered in the concrete. And I think of CAD as it's an abstraction. It's an abstraction from 3D into 2D. It's a further abstraction of just a mathematical model of what you want to do. And that abstraction works tremendously well for all sorts of things. But I got all these holes up here. Do the holes through the sides, do they stagger? Or are they in line? I think they stagger. What happens here? Does it continue through here? Do those line of holes continue all the way down? I think so. But it could be argued that the hole pattern that's out here should pass around to the back. I have some answers to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. But for me, it's the concrete. I working it out in situ is how I've got to work it out. So right now I'm dealing with this question here is, when I do these holes and I do the holes on the back side and then I do these holes, I'm also doing these holes. Okay, I feel like I can get to most of those. But now I'm realizing that you might be able to see this, that this piece of metal, which is famously, as I said earlier on, welded on, sticks into these holes. So I want to drill through this in a way that actually takes care of that. And I have the drill bit for that exact operation. And I'm curious how well it will work for this. So I'm going to put this chair in my mill. This is a great way to talk about introduced error. When you are drilling spaced holes, you don't necessarily want to just measure, as I did, 1.1 inches between every hole and then make those marks. Because you can end up with an introduced error here that's pretty friggin' significant. Given that I started out on board and that something seemed to happen here. So this tells me that I'm going to be a lot more circumspect about starting to drill a hole until I really know where it's going. I am also going to attempt to do as much drilling of this chair as possible on the mill so that my hole spacing, here's another thing about hole spacing, is if most of your holes are correctly spaced, they will hide your eyes from seeing that some of them are not. But if most of them are not, it's going to look chaotic. I can't tell you what the tipping point is because it is on a case-by-case basis. But I have an introduced error here. Luckily, I haven't started to drill holes. If I had with the step bit, I could be in real trouble. As it is, this is shaping up really nicely. I'm really happy with it. Once I get this next side done, I'm not going to worry about these curves yet. I'm actually going to start working on seeing if I can get the table low enough to do the sides of these chairs. And then if I could do that, I can also do this business and this business, which are actually two different sizes of holes, several different sizes of holes. But I wanted to, being aware that when you measure only the distance between two things and keep on carrying that forward, you can introduce an error very small that gets very large very quickly. 20 thousandths may be only 4 sheets of paper, but you only need 5 of those before you're at 100 thou. You're almost at the thickness of a pane of glass. Anyway, I don't know why I'm wandering so far away from the mill. I'm just going to set this up so you can see what I'm doing. One of the things about hole saws that is almost universally true is that hole saws, specifically this kind, which is a standard, usually what I think of when you say hole saw, they tend to need a highly rigid setup in order to do their sawing. But these guys, the annular bits, do not. They are spectacular in that regard. 5.25, now we're going to 6.3. And we may end up with a mark that we end up seeing, but I'm just going to have to let that go. But maybe we don't. Oh, right. Let me get my side-to-side spacing dead on. I'm just checking this every single time since these things can move. And that's bad when they do. Here we go. What happens if I do this and I get these right, then they're actually parallel across this thing. And that makes a huge difference to me, right? So it's like, so right there, I'm already doing better than I was before. Way better. So I'm going to trust my accurate tool, and then we'll go back to this bottom one. Yeah, the annular cutters are ground to an incredibly high precision that allows them to kind of create their own float. Okay, so now we're doing 9.45. Woo! I'm really glad I'm doing this with the mill. I could have really gotten in some serious unpleasantness had I trusted my own dumb eye. Oh, the other thing that the annular cutter gives me is almost no burr cleanup. Okay, so let's see if I got that. Yeah, okay, that's the top one, that's the top one. We're at the same spot. Good. Happy. Happy, happy. Enjoy that. Resetting. make it. Ho, ho, ho. I am going to make it. It's going to be touch and go. So. Oh, first of all, right. We got this issue. Now, normally you only want to use these in their allotted holder, but that's just, I hate that. Oh, darn it. Oh, no, it doesn't look like I shattered anything. God, I hate doing that. And now we just get out the 3/4 inch collet. And we go there, and that gives us a little bit more height. And I actually can go all the way up into that collet, in. And I can still operate at the same slow speed. Yeah, I want it there, and I want it roughly centered between the two sides. And that means I need a little bridger here. Oh, there's my 0. On this one, because this whole thing is curved, I'm not trying to follow a straight line. I'm actually simply going to try and follow the distance. Since I think this is relatively straightforward, we will see what I can do. That was successful. Hey, now we're going to go 1.1 inches that way, but centered on the. Let's see if that actually works. 1.1. So in this, the killer is vibration and resonance. And I'm using both my hands and the pressure here to adjust that. Time you end up with a feel for what your metal wants, whether it needs more pressure when it starts to vibrate or less. It's a process. You just kind of go for it and guessing. And on this one, I'm really measuring every single time. I'm measuring the distance to the next hole. I'm not trying to use those numbers because on two different surfaces that can lead to some funkiness. Also, you know, there's the numbers and then there's what visually works. And that is really what I'm mostly trying to obtain. Start out light. Oh, it would seem that one of my punches is not performing. I feel like it's worth talking about why. Why? Why the hell do all this? Why drill all these holes in this? Now, to be clear, this video started 2.5 years ago. Christmas of 23, 24? Something like that. It's a while back. The editor will tell you because they've got the footage logged. And where I got to it in the beginning was that I drilled most of the holes that I could while clamping the chair to the mill, as you saw, and some big mistakes happened. Well, what felt like big mistakes. And then I took this thing out of the cave because I kind of couldn't stand to look at it, and I was a little overwhelmed with the busy work. And I know I talk about busy work all the time on this channel, but I was overwhelmed by the busy work from this. And I also didn't have a really specific idea about how the seat would look. And so it just sat there cooling its heels at the periphery of my sort of aesthetic vision for a while. And then I picked it back up this week. And now I'm seeing that even my mistakes will be invisible when this is done because they'll all be hidden by the feet of enlightening. Enlightening, you see what I did there? But why? What's the freaking point? The point is because this is the only reason you ever need for anything is that you want to see it. I looked at, well, my love affair with the Emeco Navy chair starts out with 99% Invisible, a delightful romp through its history with Roman Mars and his incredible team. And then I went on to Craigslist before I was even done listening to that episode and bought myself an Emeco Navy chair, and I'm so pleased with it. And then I was looking at it after a year and I was thinking, you know, it'd be really funny if this super lightweight chair, if I drilled holes in it and made it stupid light. And I'm like 70% of the way through now, and I'm so happy about this. I think that we have overutilized the word creative and creativity in our culture. And part of that is because when we, I'm not sure I have an answer here, but I do think we overuse the term creativity and creative. I think that we have in general, such open minds about it that our brains fall out. I just mean that, I don't mean that we're ascribing creative to some things that shouldn't be called creative. I just think that the word is so broad that it is almost meaningless. And I suggest an alternative. And my suggestion is point of view. Point of view. A point of view. I thought about seeing this chair all enlightened with holes in it. And then I realized I could do that. And so I am executing my point of view on something I want to see. And I don't know what's going to come out of that. I'm still not sure how it will feel to have this chair completed. But I want to know. And on one sense, you can call that creative. Oh, he did something really creative with the chair. But what does that really tell you? What I'd like to say is I'm executing a really specific point of view about a chair. But I'm not even sure what that point of view is. Once I see this chair, I think I'm going to have a better idea about it. See, okay, now I'm getting to something. I think that when we talk about creativity, we think about it as something that we apply to a thing. Well, I took this book and I got creative with it, which is a completely understandable English sentence. But I don't think there's any artist out there being like, well, good morning, everyone. Let's get creative. The idea of creative doesn't have stakes to it. It doesn't have an endpoint. It's fine for it doesn't have an endpoint, but point of view does. Point of view says the buck stops with what these eyes and brain and matrix of sentience sees in the world and what it wants to bring out of that sight. So I love this conversation. And the conversation isn't about like, here's another way to get creative with a chair. The conversation is, here is my point of view on a chair. I'm still learning about it, but while I'm learning about it, let's talk. Let's talk about my friend Tom Sachs for a minute. When you look at his work, you're not thinking, well, I mean, maybe you think that guy is super creative. Certainly that is a reasonable thought to have. But when you look at his LEM, his full-size moon lander that he built out of plywood and steel, I don't think that the proper way to describe that is, man, that guy is creative with plywood. It's like, man, that guy has a point of view on humans making things, and he's putting himself into the mix of humans making things, and he's bringing out more. This is what culture is. It is the conversation between my point of view, your point of view, her point of view, their point of view, everybody's point of view. And the rigor that we apply with our institutional knowledge is a rigor of knowing where we want to get with that point of view. Like, I don't always know what my point of view is, but when I arrive at it in a piece and the piece is done and its own thing, boy, do I know I've gotten to something. And when you do that thing and there's like one last step to take, but you're really tired and you don't want to take it, that piece isn't done. Other people might think that it's done, but you know that it's not. And that's to me what creative, here's that word, that's to me what creative and process rigor is. It is being willing to go to the mat to get everything you want out of the execution you are currently in the middle of. Whether that's a song or code or a dress or, like I said, a table or a government, doesn't matter what. It's like as long as you are applying your particular vantage point from all the sentience that's around us. Yeah, I didn't expect to get quite so big with that, but like it's rare that I'm in the middle of an execution and I'm so sort of weirdly thrilled by it and really curious about it. I still don't think I have a specific point of view of why I wanted to drill holes in this thing, except that, I'm sort of quoting Tom Sachs's work and its effect on me. I'm also quoting NASA and all of their stuff. Aerospace is one of like the first things I became obsessed with as a young man. And aerospace is full of lightning holes and stuff like that. Space frames, finite element analysis, and things getting lighter and lighter while maintaining the main structural bits. Also, like, the other thing I did while this was sitting around my house for a couple of years between my first execution and my first attack at it and my second, is going easy on myself. It's like, yeah, that's a thing I'm thinking about. That's a thing I'm thinking about. That's how it goes. Still don't know what I want to do in here. Still not sure how that plays out, that little moment here, that little holiday. And I may still do some holes down here. Whoop, 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 whoop. But for right now, I'm going to do the other outer leg. And this is spectacular because now we're removing the visual aspects. It's sort of, yeah. I'm looking forward to counting up all the holes when we're done. Just like, I'm a being of inventory. All right, here we go. This object's getting interesting. So I am, I always want to start these videos by saying the work proceeds apace. The next step is I want to add in little holes between between every one of these bearings. So I've taken the bearing drilling template I built and I've added those holes to it. The bearing template seems to work beautifully. After I do that, there are some small fixes, and then it's time to start drilling out the seat. And I spent the weekend drawing several versions of the seat layout, and I'm still not sure I know what I want. But you don't have to know how the thing is going to turn out. You just have to know the next step. And that's where I'm at. I know that I like this surround here. So this is my goal today, is to drill all these little holes and to drill the outer perimeter of this and wash this clean. And I think once I have this drilled out, it should give me a lot more understanding and clarity about how I want to do the business, the inside business here. This is a tricky area. Anyway, yeah, here we go. Don't let your previous marks distract you from your current ideas. Keep drawing, keep drawing, keep drawing. I love this thing. I'm so happy with it. Jesus Christ. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. A moment of truth has arrived. Not the moment of truth, a moment of truth. Dudes and dudettes, Deuteronomy. Mwah. I am so freaking psyched. What's that? Oh, wait. Anyway, this is so amazingly awesome. I'm going to do a lot of deburring of this right now just because, and then I might even try some polishing. We will see. I'm tackling this chair again. Now, sharp-eyed viewers might recognize that it's been almost 2 years since I started drilling holes in this. And it has been almost 2 years. The reason it's taking so long is because I love this thing. It's become really important to me, and I'm nervous about messing it up. Also, there's a lot of busy work to do from here on in. I have basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 20 more holes to drill. I'm going to do that now. Then I've got to start moving through this thing, deburring everything. That's what's going to be absolutely tedious. A solid period of time of deburring. But first, let's drill some holes. I'm hoping to wrap this in this video. In this video, you've been watching the video. This is the end of the video. So for me, it's like I haven't touched this in months. It's that every step I take really carefully because I want to make sure I'm getting it right because I love this thing. And I've already made some mistakes that are hard for me to look at, despite me feeling like the gestalt is just what I was hoping for. When I really love a creation, it's often when I slow down the most. Just want to take each step really carefully. There's a painter who I want you to know about named Francis Bacon. If you did a Google search for Francis Bacon's painting, you might look at them and be like, why do I want to look at those kind of imagery? It's difficult stuff, slightly horrific, very dark and upsetting. And there's also a sense of humor in his work. But I'm bringing him up because I love the way Francis Bacon talked about the creative process. And one of the things he was famous for was setting fire to a whole bunch of his early career work, burning paintings that he had painted and shown. And there's a book called The Brutality of Fact. which is an amazing title, and it is a set of interviews with Francis Bacon by the British art critic David Sylvester. And at one point, Sylvester says, I'm going to paraphrase this. I haven't read this book in about 5 years, 8 years. I read it in preparation for writing Every Tool's a Hammer because I quoted in there. But in the book, Sylvester says to Francis Bacon, why did you set fire to these paintings? And Bacon was like, okay. He's like, the artwork. Says anybody with a modicum of like stick-to-itiveness can build the skills to take a piece of artwork to like 90%. Almost anybody can do that. It's like, if you're really, really good, you have like deep skill, you can go 95%. And then that last 5%, it's going to take everything that you have. And it's going to take the most amount of attention that an artist can bring to this solution. And for Bacon, when he pushes over that barrier, and he doesn't do 99%, he does 103%. He goes over what he was intended. He's like, I can't look at the painting anymore, and then I have to destroy it. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes total sense. I'm super nostalgic about everything that I've built, and so it's the idea of like ritually destroying it sounds anathema, but I understand the relationship that he's describing there, and I understand the stakes that he's describing. And so, yeah, it's what it feels like. It feels like the stakes are like, I don't want to push too far, and then I won't be able to look at it. So here's what I'm going to do. Here's what's left on this. This has been polished to about a 220 grit, maybe just a little bit more. I am going to paint. I'm going to drill the last 20 or so holes. Then I'm going to paint this thing. Well, then I'm going to deburr this thing. Then I'm going to paint it black, and then I'm going to sand it again. And with the idea that once it's black, all the internal stuff inside these legs and everything disappears, and it becomes even more sort of transparent is my goal. That's the plan. And as you know, a plan is just a list of things that won't happen. I'm quoting Christopher McQuarrie's script for The Way of the Gun. Yeah, let's get started. All right. Is that all the holes that I wanted to do? I think that might be it. All right, we're gonna go a pass at 180. That's what's gonna happen here right now. Okay. So few places to grab a phone from. Okay. I'm wrapping for today. I've got another couple of passes of orbital sanding to do. Down to like a 400 grit is my guess, maybe even 500. And then I've got to clean up some of the places the paint is, like on the inside here that I can't get to except manually. A couple more hours. And after almost 2 years, my 1.78 kilogram chair, formerly 3 kilograms, this iteration of it will be done. It's definitely becoming a compelling object. I always like coming in the morning and seeing the intense amount of mess from a set of simple operations. This is all just deburring, and that is taking like a wide chamfer bit and creating a nice 45-degree shoulder on every hole on this. Every single freaking hole. Anyway, I've got this down to about a 240 grit. Is that correct? Let's just double. Actually, let me set up the camera a little better. Good morning. That's where the last hideouts are. But in a minute, I'm all done. so there you have it. Perhaps the longest possible way to get to a 1.7 kilogram chair. Yeah, we'll have some beauty shots of this. Sorry that I'm giving you the shaky boat cam. I'm so sweaty. It's like 90 degrees. It's not 90 degrees. It's like 75 degrees, but 90% humidity. Anyway, this took a long time. It took a long time for me to think about it. It didn't take as long to make it, but I had to sit and think about it for months in between. That chair, I had to draw like 4 different patterns to get that, 5 different patterns maybe even, to get the seat correct. And like I said, I think the inside's gonna change its color, but that's another video. The Emeco Navy chair is a legendary chair. I wanted to make a mod of it that was worthy of its legendary status. And I feel like my achievement has been unlocked. Thank you guys for joining me for this. I'll see you next time.
Thank you guys so much for watching. One of my favorite things we make in our tested store are demerit badges. These are like scout badges, but for screwing stuff up, because screwing up is not just a part of the making process, it is intrinsic to it, and we like to celebrate that. We've got 27 so far in the Supervisors bundle that you can go buy right now by clicking on the link in the description, but we also have a booster pack of some brand new patches. This is the demerit badge for burning off your eyebrow. I am proudly sewing that to all of my clothes. This is the demerit badge for having a messy workbench, which I do not get today. My workbench is super clean. And we have new octagonal patches that are, merit badges. This is the merit badge for sweeping up your shop. Congratulations, I'm so proud of you. And this, oh my God, this is great. This is the merit badge for creating a clean space on your bench. Hey, we got to take our successes where they come and meet them there. Go to the tested-store.com or adamsavage.com to buy any of these, or click on a link in the description.